Hi, everybody, and welcome to Podcast Thursday. Thomas, how you doing?
I'm doing pretty great. Tongue-tied. How about yourself?
I'm doing great. My name is Dan, and this is Thomas, and we are mindWATCH.
This is the fourth episode of mindWATCH, and today's episode is going to be about redefining loneliness.
I know it's a really big topic right now, especially with everybody still in quarantine.
Yeah, especially because I know some people who are like currently down here. We're down here for school, and we're either in an apartment or in some sort of dorm room. I mean, by now probably the dorm rooms are pretty cleared out by now. But some people who are living in an apartment away from their families, by themselves in an apartment. So yeah, there's a lot of people who are like really on their own. Like we're lucky enough to be surrounded by family, but some people can't go see their family.
It's true. And I also know that not just in quarantine time, but a lot of people do suffer from loneliness too. I think it'll be interesting when we kind of delve into this, because I know people that are always lonely, yet they're surrounded by people, and people that don't have anybody in their life as well. So a lot of different things for us to kind of discuss, but I'm curious to know how your last week was.
Well, my week was pretty good. It's been pretty much the same for the past month or so. I put up a pretty good, consistent routine. I wake up, I work out, I eat something, I play a little bit of Animal Crossing or something like that. I was finally able to get a Switch after like a month of searching. Walmart had one left, so I got it. So I got some games for that. So I've been playing on my Switch. Been working out, been eating, I've been cooking a lot more. I do want to pat myself on the back because I started this 30-day challenge on YouTube, exercise challenge, all calisthenics, and calisthenics basically means body weight, no equipment required. I just completed day 28, so I have 2 days left. And I've never really accomplished anything like that before. I've never been that consistent with something, and I can already see the changes. So I'm going to give myself a pat on the back. And just to give credit, there's this YouTuber, his name is Bully Juice. He has lots of great at-home workouts, no equipment required. They're really great, and they've really helped me out a lot, and he keeps them fun. So yeah, that's how my week has been.
And I will just say, being Thomas's dad, I am so proud of you, because I am working from home. And I'm at my dining room table, and it overlooks our outdoor patio area, and that's where Thomas and his brother Nathan, that's where they do their workout every day. And let me tell you, they have not had a day off at all. So it's been really neat. Because I'm a parent, I do something called Fit Father, which is like FF30X. It is really awesome. So I've been doing that because, I'm a parent. I'm not going to say I'm old, because I know I'm not.
You're not old.
But I think I would die doing what you and your brother do. But what I'm doing has been awesome, and I don't think I've ever been this consistent.
Yeah, because you've been consistent pretty much since we started the quarantine.
Yeah, it's been really cool. So, but no, it's been great. And, I'm glad you said the thing about eating. I think one of our podcasts will be about mindful eating, because it is so important.
Yeah.
I think even when we get into this topic of loneliness, I think eating well is so important to your mindset.
Yeah.
Right?
You want to eat foods that essentially make you feel good.
Right.
But there's also foods that we also love to eat, but necessarily afterwards we feel bloated and disgusting, which it's fine to have, the foods that you love. It's just, moderation. You don't want to binge. We
have a friend, Lisa, who we have talked about before in our podcast. And she always says that the best things to eat are those with the fewest ingredients. If you get an ingredient of one, like an apple, it's just an apple.
Yep.
One ingredient is generally the healthiest thing for you. So let's kind of get into this, though. Let's get into this topic because it's one that, as a teacher, I have to deal with a lot with students. It's one that, as a human being, I've dealt with in my life. This concept of loneliness. So what do you think? To you, if you hear the word loneliness, what's the first thing you think of, or how do you define it?
So I think loneliness is more of a feeling than anything. Because we could be surrounded by people, we could be surrounded by family, friends, etc. But we can still feel lonely. It's a very very introspective feeling. Like I remember, I can use an example for myself, like how I feel when I feel lonely. Like I know there's people out there and stuff like that, but sometimes I just kind of want to lock my room, sit inside, and just kind of don't want to talk to anybody. And that's just me feeling bad for myself. It's kind of like a pity party. Now I don't do that as much now because I've really improved that with like the meditations and everything like that. But I think really loneliness is more of a feeling more so than anything. It's that feeling of isolating yourself.
I like
isolation.
That. I
What do you think loneliness is?
I agree with you. I guess I've never. I don't think I've ever really thought about it necessarily in those terms, because to me loneliness is, oh man, I don't have any friends, or it's Saturday night and I've got no one to go out with, or I have acquaintances and they're ignoring me. And I guess also as a teacher, I kind of see a lot of these patterns with kids where they feel alone because others are ignoring them. Yeah. But it's interesting what you said, and I'm fascinated by it too, because you are a popular person. For those that don't know Thomas, you are. You got a lot of friends, and he has a great girlfriend, and there's a lot of positive things like that. And I know a lot of people that are like you that will still feel lonely because, like what you said, you always have someone to do things with, but there are times where you just want to go into your room and close the door.
Yeah.
Right? Because inside you're feeling lonely, even though realistically you're not. So I think it is interesting. We've got the loneliness where it's more of a traditional definition. Someone that doesn't necessarily have the best friends or the acquaintances or whatever, and they're alone.
Yeah.
Or someone that feels isolated, even though they have other people in their lives.
Yeah, because we can differentiate between choosing to be by yourself just because you want to be, because you've been around people so much, and that's choosing to be alone just because you want time to decompress. And there's also the choice of locking yourself because you feel like you have no friends. And I feel like that's also, loneliness equates to ego as well, I feel like.
True, but let's define that for a second, because those of you that this might be your first mindWATCH podcast, or your first podcast with Mindful Me, may not understand the term ego. We're not saying someone that's egotistical or full of himself.
Everybody has an ego.
Right. We are looking ego as defined as that part of yourself that is always looking down, that part of yourself that's generally creating problems whenever you feel a panic, like, oh my God, someone hates me. That's your ego talking. You don't know that somebody hates you, right? A lot of us will be like, oh my gosh, I was called to the principal's office, right? Even though you've done nothing wrong, your ego is saying, what did you do wrong? Oh my gosh,
let's think of every minor thing you've done within the past 24 hours before you go sent to the office.
So you start feeling like all these things that could go wrong, that's your ego talking. So I do agree with you. I think that, when we're looking at loneliness, I think we have to kind of look at perspective, right? Mm-hmm. There's loneliness and then there's solitude. And some of you might be like, what's the difference? Solitude is being alone by choice. That's empowering.
Yeah.
That's making a choice. Not from ego, I'm choosing to be alone because everyone hates me and I'm lonely.
I'm doing it because I can.
I'm doing it because I can.
And I can do it for myself because I really need time to rethink some things, or time with myself.
I just need time with me. Right. Yeah. So I think the state of mind perspective is important. There's lonely from ego, and then there's solitude from your higher self, right? I want to be alone. I'm making this choice.
Yeah. You're going to find peace from solitude.
Yes. So how do we change our perspective from loneliness to solitude?
So I think there's many different ways. And here we have, let me go ahead and cite the source really quick. We have an article off of Bustle, which I believe is a blogging website. And this was written by, her name is Marlon Komar. I'm so sorry if I mispronounced that. And some of the ways that, or some of the different ways that we can differentiate the differences or rethink loneliness is, the first one is to take yourself out. Or in other terms, to be kind to yourself and give your higher self the treatment you would want from a friend. So essentially, treat yourself the way you treat others in a way. Like
or the way that you want others to treat you. Right? Like, okay. So we've used this example in other podcasts, but I think it applies here. So think of how you treat yourself. You may not eat perfectly. You may not exercise well, overwork, not enough sleep. How many times have we looked in the mirror and been like, oh, God, I look like crap.
I look fat today, or
right.
I look ugly, or
right,
things like
or
that.
like I'm just not attractive.
Self-loathing.
Right, self-loathing, right? If anyone in your life would treat you the way you treat yourself, you would drop them like a hot potato.
Yeah, toxic. Done.
Toxic, exactly.
Done.
But we are toxic to ourselves. We don't look at the fact that we are with us 24/7, so why don't we treat ourselves the way we expect others to treat us?
I think it's because we don't see ourselves as another person. Does that make sense?
True. We don't see ourselves as another person. But if we're treating ourselves well, right? What are some examples that you think, for people that are listening, what can they do to treat themselves well?
I think one of them is definitely exercising. Exercising is one of them, and getting... because you and I especially have the privilege of being able to work on our bodies and getting ourselves in shape, so we should definitely take advantage of that. And I think that's one of the big things. That's one of the big things, is that we can really become healthier, especially, but also not pushing yourself because you don't want to injure yourself. So doing the right amount of exercise properly to get yourself healthy physically.
I think that is beyond important. But even something that's a little bit more frivolous, like if I'm doing something for myself, man, I want a massage.
Massage, yeah.
I haven't had a massage.
I haven't had a real, like, a masseuse like give me a massage. The only massages that I've gotten were just from my girlfriend, just like touching my shoulders.
No, a real massage, man, is awesome. Or,
like deep tissue massages. Right. Massages, good Lord. Can't speak.
There's English. That. There's also taking yourself out to dinner, which I know is a little weird. So if you don't want to sit in a restaurant,
order in Postmates or whatever.
Right. Or something that's like fancy, or cook for yourself, like this really fancy dinner, get the candles out, get the music going, treat yourself the way that you would want someone to treat you, and you'd be surprised how we can shift from loneliness into solitude, because it's intentional.
Yeah.
Right?
Because I remember another example was me debating whether or not to get a Switch, and that there was just one point I was like, you know what, I'm just going to treat myself. That didn't happen until a month later because they're really hard to find. But I eventually, because we're in quarantine, scalpers are a thing. But yeah, that's an example. Like, I treated myself to a couple things over the quarantine because I had nothing else to really save up for. So,
but it's not even that. You want to treat yourself the way you would like others to treat you.
Exactly.
So I think there's another way too. Because taking yourself out, being kind to yourself, right? You want to treat your higher self the way that you want to be treated is so important. But the other thing is, I think so many times when something negative comes, right, we tend to focus on it. And when something's bad, or we have the perception that something's bad, we tend to really focus on that. How many times have you gone to bed and you're dreading something and you can't stop thinking about it? Your perception of what it'll be. Right. You're like, oh my gosh, this is going to happen. Mm-hmm. Your perception. And we tend to focus and we harp on it. Well, if someone is experiencing loneliness, their ego wants them to experience the loneliness.
Yeah.
Right? So it's important to acknowledge it. All right, I acknowledge that I feel like crap.
Yeah.
Right? We don't want to ignore it. We want to acknowledge it. Mm-hmm. Look in, feel the feeling, sit with the feeling, let the feeling pass, let the feeling move through you. But you also have the opportunity to shift out of it.
Yeah. That's, I also want to use an example. I just love using examples. But I'm going to get it just a little bit personal. I remember before I started school at FAU, and I remember I was preparing for my BFA audition for literally months on end. Like, I was so prepared. And the night before, the audition, I started overthinking it like heck. And I literally had a big breakdown. You remember that?
I do.
So, and you actually said the same thing. You said just I even started crying. Like, I'm not much of a crier, but like I even started crying. Like, I started thinking like, oh, should I even be an actor? Should I even go into this? Blah 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 blah. I'm just gonna take a semester off. And you're like, no. You just kind of cry it out for a bit, and then just kind of sit with it. And I cried it out for a little bit. Sat in my room, just kind of. I didn't meditate at the time. I wasn't into meditation yet. But I just kind of sat with myself and just kind of acknowledged that, that happened, and I prepared for this for a super long time, and it's going to be great. So once those feelings pass, I acknowledged that they happened, and then I was able to think more clearly.
And he was accepted to the BFA program. Only one of 3 people that were chosen that year out of everybody that auditioned.
There also wasn't many people who auditioned because there was a hurricane.
But there was enough. It was a very good honor.
There's enough.
So, see, you don't need to diminish, right?
Right.
It was an accomplishment,
Yeah.
It
No,
really was.
It's a good moment.
So I think that is important. And shifting literally is acknowledging and moving. We both love, there's an app as well called Headspace, and we've talked about it beforehand. And I will credit this because I think it's easy to understand. It's something that when you feel lonely, acknowledge it, touch it, and then don't try and ignore it. Don't try and deny it. I'm not lonely. I'm not that. It's how you feel.
Yeah.
It's okay.
It's all
touch
normal.
it, note it. Don't obsess over it, and then shift and say, you know what? I know I feel lonely, but I'm making a choice. My choice is to be lonely by choice and move from loneliness into solitude. So, and I think the other thing we have to acknowledge too is that when we're alone, okay, so let me give you a past example. This is years and years and years and years ago. So I would say, definitely 20 years ago. So I would come home, and at the time I was living by myself. I was just starting off as a lawyer when I moved into being a teacher. And I would come back to
This is when you lived at your townhouse?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So, and I would come home, and the first thing that I would do is I would turn the TV on, right? And I would turn it on, or I would turn on, music. But the idea of coming into a house and it being silent totally freaked me out. Like, I hated it. I just needed the noise. I didn't care what the noise was. I just needed
some
noise.
kind of white noise in the background. Right.
So I had a friend of mine, and he said to me, he's like, well, why do you need the noise? I'm like, I just do. I don't like the silence. So it's like, it might be that you don't really
Demons. No, I'm just
like,
kidding.
yeah, right. That you don't really like yourself, right? That you are uncomfortable with you as a friend. So he gave me a challenge, and you all know that we love our challenges.
Yeah.
Right? To come home and not turn on the TV or music, but just to go about what I was doing at the time, like making dinner, changing clothes, whatever the situation may be, and really be present in that moment. Making dinner, appreciate making dinner, appreciate cutting up the food, appreciate cooking it, appreciate, taking raw materials and making this awesome dinner, right? And taking that time and giving yourself at least a half an hour of silence before turning on the TV. Like, if you're turning on the TV, turn it on because you want to watch something.
Yeah.
Not because you need the silence.
Yeah, because silence can be quite illuminating, and I can completely relate to the idea of silence being scary. I'm not necessarily, I wouldn't say that I'm uncomfortable with just being with myself. I know, just something is really eerie about just pure silence. Like, especially like if I'm watching a film and there's no soundtrack and there's no anything, and it's literally just the actor, the character, and just silence. It's just like a lot of tension. Like, oh my gosh, what's gonna happen next? And that's kind of like the feeling that I get when it's completely silent. But when I come home and stuff like that, I never really immediately turn on the TV. Like back when, the quarantine was happening, I was back in school, and I would come home for a little bit to make something to eat. Sometimes I would literally just sit on the couch and just kind of flip on my phone in silence. But we would always have like the air conditioning on in the background, and that's very subtle enough to where it feels like it's silent, but it's not completely silent. So, but yeah, I can totally relate to the idea of silence being scary.
So now I come home, and it's like, if I'm home by myself, I don't even go for the TV. Like, I enjoy that moment. I enjoy that silence. There's an author, her name is Emma Sapala. She wrote a book called The Happiness Track. And in her book, she makes note of this. She says, make sure that you choose the activity is not one that becomes a distraction. And she's talking about being comfortable in silence. She says, choose to do something that simply allows you to be silent. Be as present as you can with everything around you and within you. So if loneliness hits, take a walk. Go to the beach, sit by the water, grab a cup of coffee, sit on a park bench, sit outside in front of your house, watch people as they go by, and let the feeling sink in and stick for a little bit. Be constantly distracting yourself from it. You will condition to yourself that it's not bad. And I think that is important. I will tell you, I love, I work out in the morning, my FF30X, yeah. And then I take my 4-mile walk, and I love it. And at first it was, I was listening to music or a book on tape or whatever. The majority of my walk right now is nothing. It's nothing even in my ears. I really just enjoy the nature that's around me.
The wind blowing, the trees rustling.
Yeah, and just being present. And it's a great form of silence. Mm-hmm. And again, to me, that is solitude. That's not loneliness.
Yeah. I see kind of solitude as sort of like a little blanket. Yes. Like it's like a solitude blanket. You know what I mean? Like you feel comfortable with your surroundings.
Yeah, I love it. So I think another thing to do as well is use the opportunity that you have, right? If you are alone, whether it's by choice, which we're all going to say it is, right? But regardless, however you find yourself alone, this is the best, at quarantine time, the best opportunity for spiritual and physical growth.
Yeah, for sure. Some examples are like meditating. So maybe you can start meditating. You can check out our meditations on our website.
Yep, Meditation Monday. Meditation Monday. Every Monday we release a new meditation.
We do, and I think we have over 10 now. So there's different ones you can choose from. So we have lots of great different ones. Anyways, shameless plug. So another thing you can do is working out. We've pretty much talked about that a lot. Try something new to be excited about and trying something that's out of your comfort zone. So I think especially trying something out of your comfort zone is extremely important to your growth as a human. Because if we just stick to the things that we're comfortable with, then we're never going to grow. But it's literally all about determination and persistence. That's kind of like how I feel with working out. I've built up a habit to the point where even if I wake up and I'm so tired, I really don't feel like working out, I literally force myself to do it. So this is the time.
I think you're right though. It was at first forced, but I know you now. It's not even forced. It's just like you wake up and it's just part of who you are.
It's kind of like me, robot, me go work out.
Right. And I'm even thinking like when work comes back and we're back into our normal routine after the quarantine,
we'll find time for it.
Absolutely.
Yep.
I cannot see going throughout my day without my walk, without my workout, without my hour-long meditation. Like, I can't foresee, like, it's just part of who I am now. We've been doing it for 2.5 months as we've been in quarantine. And it's been great. And trying something out of your comfort zone doesn't necessarily mean, go jump out of an airplane with a parachute. Some people
that sounds like fun though.
Not for me.
I want to do
that. That is definitely out of my comfort zone, but it's so far out of my comfort zone, I'm not doing it.
I would go skydiving. That sounds like fun.
You and your brother would definitely would. But pushing the boundaries a little bit, and also trying something new that you're excited about that you had just mentioned.
Yeah.
You have really in quarantine time. How many different recipes have you tried cooking wise? You have become an incredible chef.
I've discovered that I have a little bit of a talent when it comes to cooking.
Yeah, you do.
Because I love trying out different things, and I've been trying to make some healthier recipes. Like last night, instead of having mashed potatoes, I made a cauliflower mash.
It was delicious.
So it was pretty good. But it's funny because like the first trial, you try it and you're like, oh, maybe I can add this. Maybe I can do this next time to make it better. And really, it's just in quarantine, we have so much free time that we literally have time to discover things that we may like. And cooking was one of those things for me personally.
Which is a great, great thing for solitude. So, I think just to kind of recap, for spiritual and physical growth, there's meditating, there's working out, trying something new that you're excited about. Maybe you want to travel someplace. Maybe like when quarantine's over and you're like, gosh, I really just want to go to Disney. So I'm going to go regardless. If I'm by myself, it's a solitude experience.
Yeah.
Some of my best times I've been at Disney alone, and it's been awesome because you really get to experience it the way you want and try something a little bit out of your comfort zone. And I think the last thing when it comes to this vision of going from loneliness into solitude, I don't think there's anything that is more powerful than visualizing. Closing your eyes, picturing an activity, picturing yourself in solitude, right? A choice. In solitude, and seeing how that feeling could be at its absolute perfect height. What a message that's sending to your higher self.
And solitude in that location can be anywhere you want it to be. That's the power of visualization.
Anywhere. And visualization does help things to become real.
Yep.
It does.
Yep. It could come to fruition, especially once you keep visualizing it. So.
Yeah, and that is something that we are going to be discussing at a later podcast. It might be the next one or the one after. But as far as, that kind of law of attraction type thing, dealing with that and the concept of Ho'oponopono, I think is something that we will definitely be able to delve in and have maybe a little bit longer of a podcast that day, because that's an awesome topic.
Kind of like the idea of you giving out to the universe and the universe giving back to you.
Correct. Giving the right message out, which visualization helps to do.
Yeah.
So Thomas, this was a really cool topic. I like it. This idea of redefining loneliness. I think it's something that is ongoing. I think it's something that we can manage, that we can look at and definitely apply to ourselves. And I love some of the tools that we've given. So I'm curious to know for you guys, if you try some of these, and let us know what you think. Let us know in the comments. Hey, this was good, or this was something I really experienced I never thought of, and let us know how you're doing. The other thing is too, in our suggestions, and whether it's on mindfulme.org or whether it's comments on YouTube or Apple Podcasts, Spotify, or Google Play Podcasts, let us know if there's some topics you'd like us to discuss. And if it's not something that Thomas and I necessarily in our wheelhouse, I love the fact that we've got 3 distinct series on mindfulme.org, Need to Heed and Align Your Mind. And all of us kind of have a little bit different tune to our podcast. So it's not saying the same thing over and over and over again.
Yep.
So please let us know, and we will definitely get it to the podcast that we feel would best fit it.
There's unlimited ideas out there.
So many ideas. And so we're very excited. As far as some of the things that are upcoming, remind everybody and that is listening, and tell your friends, every Sunday there is a new weekly inspirational message every single Sunday. On Monday is Meditation Monday. Thomas, why don't you let us know about this Meditation Monday?
So this upcoming meditation on Monday is going to be narrated by myself, yours truly. And this coming week's meditation is going to be all about easing anger.
I love that.
So I'm really excited for it.
I love that.
And then the next podcast Thursday is going to be by Fernando and Jake, and their show is entitled Need to Heed. And you also talked about the newsletter, and don't forget to sign up on our mailing list and follow us on all social media platforms, including TikTok.
So excited.
And all of our information too is on our website at mindfulme.org. Remember, that's with 2 L's, not with 1. So
come fill your glass with us, heal with us. We're really grateful to you guys. Keep following, keep liking, keep subscribing. Tell all your friends. We really do appreciate it. We're trying to be with everybody and together heal and grow.
Thank you for listening.
Awesome week, guys.
Yeah, thank you for listening.
Bye.
Bye.
Thank you for watching this episode of mindWATCH with Daniel and Thomas. We hope you enjoyed it. Be sure to visit our website, mindfulme.org, for resources just like this. Also, follow us on social media at mindfulme Inc. We're now available on Google Podcasts, Zencast, Apple Podcasts, Spotify, YouTube, and everywhere else you get podcasts. All you have to do is search Mindful Me. That's mindful spelled with 2 L's, space me. We can't wait to see you on there, and have a great rest of your day.